Alright, what's up guys? My name is Zach, and this week I've been driving the 2023 Jeep Grand Wagoneer L Series 3. Up front is a 3.0 liter twin-turbo inline-6, and down below is an 8-speed automatic transmission. Now, I'm super excited to be making this video because I've spent the last 7 days driving around this Grand Wagoneer, and I have plenty of thoughts. I imagine this will probably be a rather lengthy video with all the features available in here, so strap in, it's gonna be a long one. But if you would like to submit your own vehicle, you can head on over to my website, zackpradel.com/submit. It's a quick and easy submission form. It takes under a minute to fill out, and I come out to you. But let's get back to that 3-liter turbocharged inline-6 under the hood. Well, this is the all-new Hurricane engine. Now, you could find this vehicle also with the 6.4 V8, but that's actually being phased out, and for 2024, this 3-liter inline-6 will be the only engine offered here in the Grand Wagoneer. It makes 510 horsepower and 500 foot-pounds of torque. Now, there is a little bit of turbo lag down below, however, it's not too noticeable with the twin turbos spooling up pretty quickly. And I have to say, this engine is the gemstone of the Grand Wagoneer. I love it. When you actually really get on throttle, it sounds like a BMW, which I love because BMWs oftentimes have turbocharged straight 6s around the 3-liter mark. So very, very cool to see and hear. Now, like I said, paired to it is an 8-speed automatic. It's good. It does the job. I don't really have any complaints about it. So far, so good. Last but not least, this is 4-wheel drive with a 2-speed transfer case, which does give it some nice off-road prowess that you might not expect out of your luxury SUV. So how does it feel to drive a Grand Wagoneer L for the last 7 days? It is big. That is what I tell everyone. I have pleasantly enjoyed my experience, especially with that inline-6 turbo, especially being higher up and all the nice features in here. Steering is great. Visibility is pretty good, and you do have camera systems to help out with that as well. But on the grand scheme of things, this thing is massive. This is the L, which is longer than the standard Grand Wagoneer, and I actually parked next to one last night, and it was a very noticeable difference. We'll talk about that with the cargo space later on. But this is a big automobile, and if you're buying this, you're probably expecting that. You're probably used to Suburbans, Tahoes, Expeditions, Navigators. That's fine, but if you're coming from a smaller car to the Grand Wagoneer, buckle up, take it slow, take some practice, because this is one of the biggest cars I've driven. Fuel economy, 13.2 miles per gallon. To be fair, this was after a lot of highway driving. Before that, it was actually at 11.8 I was averaging. No good. With that stuff out of the way, let's talk about the interior, and right in front of me I have one of 7 screens. So my gauge cluster is a single screen, and I can customize a bunch of different things that I'm going to be scrolling through now. I really like it. It's very easy to read. There is a lot going on. I wish that there was a calmer screen that was like just speedometer and tachometer maybe. But overall, there is a lot of stuff going on and stuff to look at. However, it's very, very quick. Chrysler has always had pretty high frame rate screens, which has always been nice, and that shows through here in the gauge cluster. On the steering wheel, on the left, we have the selectors for the gauge cluster screen, as well as phone options and voice commands. And off to the right, we do have our adaptive cruise options. So this does have adaptive cruise with steering assist. You do have to keep your hand on the steering wheel, and it's pretty good. I would say that Cadillac's Super Cruise system is a lot better, but for what it is and not being an autonomous system, it works pretty well, and I used it for about 3 hours on the highway yesterday, and it did a fine job. I also do have a gear limit and selector button down to the bottom right, and the overall steering wheel does say Grand Wagoneer on it. You won't find any Jeep badges in here. And then we have some nice tan stitching throughout. Off to the left, we have a climate control vent, headlights, gauge dimmer switches, and our pedal adjustments, along with our power parking brake. And moving on to the door, we have our memory seat options, along with massage and seat adjustments. These are 20-way adjustable seats, which is fantastic to see, and you can operate that here as well as in the center, we'll talk about in a second. And moving down the door, we have our power mirror options, power windows, and power locks. Moving into the center, we have our giant infotainment system, so I'm actually going to switch over to my phone camera just to try to keep up with everything. So we do have nice features like Apple CarPlay, which is really, really nice to see. It's pretty responsive, and it is wireless CarPlay. But if we come over here to vehicle, we have some interesting bits. So First of all, we have this nice selection here. The passenger screen on and off, the power side steps, the second and third row, we can lower the headrest. But I also do have a surround camera, which is lovely, and we can select through a couple of different views here. This has been so nice for parking this large behemoth of an automobile, and you could toggle this at very slow speeds or when you're parked, which is really nice. Backing out of here, we also have the fam cam. So this will give you almost a 180 view of the back seats, and we can tap on different seats and zoom in on what your kids are doing just to keep an eye. Oh, there's my jacket. It's still back there, which is very, very nice to see. And then, of course, we can just toggle the rear view camera, or we could do that through the surround camera screen as well. Moving back here over to settings, we can come down to lights, ambient lighting, and we have 5 different options for ambient lighting. Here's a clip of it at night, cycling through a couple of the different colors, and this really does add a very, very nice ambiance to the interior of the Grand Wagoneer. I absolutely love that. We can also come here to comfort, and this is where we'll find our climate controls. The climate is off right now, but we have heated seats and ventilated seats, as well as a heated steering wheel. We can come up here to our massage features, and this is for the massage seats. I have mine on right now on rock climb or waterfall are my 2 personal favorites, but you have 5 different options here, and then high, medium, and low for each option. So I could do extend medium, or I could go to low extend low, or low extend high. You know, tons of customization here. Like I said, waterfall is my favorite and something I love. I do like that you also do get physical climate buttons down here as well. Love that feature. Moving down, we have another screen, and this is basically an auxiliary screen where you can look at and keep your front seats up here, the massage seats. A little bit of customization, not anything too crazy, but definitely nice to keep this massage feature on, and then this, I can be listening to my music, you know, at the same time and have it doing 2 different things. I love that Jeep gives you that ability. Come down here, we push this button, and this screen will retract into the dash to reveal the USB and HDMI ports, along with a 12-volt outlet right there, and the wireless charger. Let's switch back to the nice camera. Then we do get this row of buttons. So like I just showed you, the far left button will raise the screen. We also have a mute button, auto start stop on and off, auto hold on, lane departure on and off, hazard switch, traction control, parking assist, parking sensors, tow haul on, and the power button for the passenger screen. Then we have the shifter itself. It is a rotary dial shifter, which I've come around to. It's fine. It's not the end of the world like every other journalist will tell you. Once you drive with it for a week, it's fine. Off to the left of that, we have our drive modes. So we have rock, sand/mud, snow, auto, and sport, of which it will show you different graphics in the gauge cluster when you do switch modes. I love that Dodge, Jeep, and Chrysler have done this for several years. Adds a little bit of fun flair to it. Off to the right of the shifter, we have our height adjustment. So this does have air ride suspension, and you can raise or lower the Grand Wagoneer L whenever you want. However, it does reserve the right to deny a raise or lower if you're going too fast. It won't go too high, things like that. We also have a button for 4-wheel drive low and our off-road modes. And then we have the cup holders, of which I actually big friggin' bottle tested this exact vehicle a couple of months ago at a drive event, this exact one. And so it failed in that video with Mike, and yet again it fails here today with Zack. Then we have the center console. So up on top of the center console, you get this little cubby that has a USB-C and USB-A for charging. But then when you open it, it's actually a built-in cool box in the center console. So it's not technically a refrigerator, but with my heat gun, I was able to find out that it stays at about 34 degrees Fahrenheit, and I did some experimentation. So the other day I had about an hour and a half drive each way. I took a cold water bottle, and here was the beginning reading before my 1.5 hour drive, and here's the reading after spending an hour and a half in the cool box. It did warm up just a tiny bit, but still remained pretty cold. Then my second experiment was the second part of that drive to come home. I took a room temperature bottle, which it had actually been sitting in the car and was at like 80 some degrees, and put it in the cool box for the entire drive, and when I got home, it was significantly cooler. Is this going to create ice? and chill anything you put in there? No, but it will keep it relatively cold, and especially on a long drive, you stock it with some cold waters in the morning or even frozen water bottles. By the end of your 8-hour drive, you're still going to have ice cold water, which is lovely to see. And one of the really cool features here in the Grand Wagoneer L. Then we got to talk about the seats. The seats are very comfortable on their own. Like I said, they are power, memory, heated, ventilated, and massaging. I have been using this massage feature all week, and it has been my favorite thing to show off to everyone. I had a friend get in the car. She was very skeptical of the massage seats, but as we sat here and chatted, she grew to really like them. They are wonderful, fantastic seats, and I would welcome these into my home any day of the week. However, speaking of seats, we do have back seats, actually 2 more rows of back seats, so let's go do some back seat reviews. All right, so we're in the second row of the Grand Wagoneer L Series 3, and apologies in advance, this is probably going to be a word vomit of just features. So, let's get started. In front of me, I do have a touchscreen infotainment system that I can watch YouTube, Freevee, Prime Video, Netflix, Amazon Music, and more on. I can also take a look at the vehicle apps and look at my navigation, climate controls, and are we there yet, which will tell you if the navigation is set up front, how long you have till your destination. There's also a headphone jack, HDMI, and a charger port built into that, and each screen gets its own remote, which is very, very cool. On the door, we do have power windows, power locks. I can lock my own door, and we do have sunshades that pop up. Grab handle here, speakers up here, and my own little light. Moving into the center, 2 climate control vents, 2 USB-C, 2 USB-A, a wall outlet, and a 12-volt outlet. And then moving into the center, I get another screen here to run my heated and ventilated seats, as well as my rear climate controls. If I'm watching a movie and I also want to control it here, I can do that, or I can control the climate here as well. So 2 different options for those climate controls. However, you cannot watch movies on this one. 2 cup holders, little opening center console here, and then big opening center console here. And then, of course, the same is featured on the other side, another screen for that passenger and things like that. This is where that family cam is placed, in case you were curious. One downside, which isn't even a downside, is that these seats are manual. For the price, for all this tech packed into these seats, I would have wished that they were power. However, with the fact that they fold and such, I can understand why. Speaking of which, let's get into the third row. All right, now that we're in the third row of the Grand Wagoneer L, first of all, I don't even feel like I'm in the same car as I do the one up front. But over here, I do get my own cup holder. I get a USB-A and USB-C. Same thing mirrored over there. And these are power. So I can power fold these if I would like to and actually recline, which that's pretty nice, but I'll leave it up like that. That's pretty cool. That is very, very cool. I do have buttons for the seat in front of me that are found down here, and I get my own sunroof. So there's a moonroof that goes between the first and second row. Then there's this big gap, obviously for rollover protection, to hold some of the equipment, things like that. But then there's a second sunroof back here just for the third row. Absolutely love this. I could imagine sort of being in my own world, headphones on, just looking out the sunroof on a long road trip. Love the fact that it gets a second one just for the third row. They didn't forget about you, third row. Speaking of which, I'm a big guy. I'm 5'11". I'm not small. Getting in isn't very fun. I have to kind of climb over stuff, blah, 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 and there's a button right here. There you go, to help that out. But even with this seat in place, I'm sitting, my knees are not hitting the seat in front of me, my head is not hitting the ceiling. Once I'm back here, it's wonderful. It's like my own first class ticket, even in the third row, which is a huge advantage not only of the Grand Wagoneer L, but just the Grand Wagoneer as a whole. So this isn't really where you're gonna notice that space. Where you are gonna notice the L in the name, the long, is behind me. So let's hop out and take a look at the trunk and cargo space. So we're on the back of the Grand Wagoneer, and you can hit the button. There's a little button down here. However, my favorite thing to do is you just kick under the rear bumper and it power pops up like that. Love to see that. Now this is where you see the big advantage of the L over the standard Grand Wagoneer. Here's the rear space of the standard Grand Wagoneer in case you were curious. Couple of things to note. First of all, this is the rear tailgate button. We'll talk about that in a second. Speakers back here, of course, you get this mat and you can pull this up. Some storage and things down there. But then we have the 12-volt outlet and power for all of the rear seats. So 3L, power seat down. You just press it once and it goes down. Press it again, it'll bring it back up. You can do the same with that seat. They're going to meet each other, enemies to lovers. There we go, passing each other, popping down like that. Push the button, right back up. Now, the second row does have power down, but they do not have power back up. So, at the touch of a button, it will all go down, but only the third row will power back up. So we'll put it all down so you can see. I actually had to pick up two 8-foot by 4-foot styrofoam sheets, and they fit in here wonderfully. Here's the footage of that. I was very impressed because every time I've ever purchased sheets like this, I always have to drive with the tailgate open or sort of angle them weird. Nope, just right in the back of the Grand Wagoneer, which was awesome to see and actually super, super helpful. Overall, this is why you buy the L, because normally the back seats would just end and that would be it, but you still get cargo space beyond the third row, which is wonderful. And I would imagine you could probably fit a fourth row in here if you really, really wanted to. Now, Jeep doesn't offer that, but in the world of worlds, you know, I could put a little jump seat right here. But anyway, now the one thing I dislike is that the tailgate button is right here. So you got to kind of get out of the way. You got to hit it and then run away before you get crushed by the door. So I wish that it was on the tailgate. A lot of them are on the bottom of the actual tailgate, so you'd hit it up there, but not the Grand Wagoneer. Now we got to talk about the looks, and this is finished in River Rock Metallic, which is a darker blue, and at night it looks completely black. I really like the look of the Grand Wagoneer L. The only thing is it's massive. It is huge, and so parking it next to any automobile, it immediately dwarfs it. However, I think it's styled really well. I think it does have that hard edge that they were looking for when designing a luxury SUV, so that's always reassuring to see. However, with all of this being said, let's get on to my final thoughts. What do I think driving a Grand Wagoneer L Series 3 for the last 7 days? Well, I would be lying if I said it wasn't an absolutely awesome driving experience. I've been incredibly comfortable this entire week with the heated seats and massage feature, the ice cold water in the center console. This sound system, the Macintosh sound system, is absolutely wonderful. The bass will shake the car if you want it to, and that is lovely to see. I've been up high. I've been soaking up the bumps with the air suspension. I've been seeing over other cars. It's been a wonderful experience. I really, really have enjoyed driving this car. However, there are a couple of things. First of all, it's too big. It's too big for my comfort. Maybe not for you, but for me just personally, it's way too large. The other thing is that the luxury full-size SUV market is a very, very hard market to break into. This car's competitors, the Lincoln Navigator and the Cadillac Escalade, are legacy vehicles. They've been around for over 20 years. And so buyers, when they want a full-size luxury vehicle, they know those names. They know those names all too well, whether that be from a rap music video, a commercial, a Super Bowl ad, whatever it might be. People know the Navigator, people know the Escalade, and the Grand Wagoneer not so much because it's only been on sale for 2 years. And so I think there are some growing pains in here for sure. I think 7 screens is too much. It's a lot of screens to worry about, especially if they ever end up going bad. You don't have to fix 1 screen, you gotta fix 7, and that's a little bit intrusive of my wallet. Although, when talking about this car, I guess we can't talk about my wallet too much because it is a lot of money, but any vehicle in this segment is going to be. I love that inline-6 engine, but we'll see how it handles and how it holds up over the years. They've only used this for this model year. This is the first model year to get this engine. The jury's still out on if it's reliable, if it holds up over the years. Now, other legacy vehicles like the Escalade and the Navigator have power plants that they've used for dang near a decade in both of them. The Escalade, they've used the same power plant since like '04. So again, it's tough to compare to those vehicles. However, on the flip side, this feels very, very fresh and very new. I've driven all the Escalades, I've driven all the Navigators, and driving this car, it doesn't feel like those. This feels like something interesting and different, and anytime I showed it to someone, they had this sort of wow factor to it. The interior materials are fantastic and it feels well built. There aren't any rattles or squeaks. It was fun explaining to everyone, well, you know, it's kind of a Jeep, but it's actually its own thing, and blah, 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 and showing them the massage sheets and all the screens. It was very, very fun. And so what the Grand Wagoneer L has going for it is the wow factor. If you want to impress your friends, if you want to show off something new, this is definitely the large SUV for you. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Huge thank you to Jeep for sending this vehicle out to me for the last 7 days. They have been wonderful to work with. They also sent me a Grand Cherokee earlier in the year that I loved. So huge thanks to them. Huge thank you to G. Schmidt for facilitating the cleaning and delivery of this vehicle. And of course, the Midwestern Automotive Media Association. But I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Don't forget to rate the video, comment on the video, and subscribe if you really liked it. Take care, guys.